Good day, viewers. Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Special day here. Going to do an interview with a very interesting guy. This is Isaiah Smith. Isaiah, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
I met Isaiah, I guess we met on Facebook, probably 2 or 3 months ago, and he has a fascinating story. So I contacted him, and I found out he lived here in Austin, and I noticed there was a picture on your Facebook page of you and the president of American Humanist Association, Roy Speckert.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, and this guy lives here in Austin. And then I got hearing a little bit about it, reading about you on Facebook, and I found out you have a very interesting story. So I contacted him, and we met for coffee or breakfast, I don't know, how many months ago? 2, 3 months ago, something like that?
Something like that.
And he told me what happened to him up in the Fort Worth area, and I just have to have him on. And I think you also spoke there at one of the American Humanist Association conferences.
Yes, I was one of their speakers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell us about your upbringing and your background a little bit, Isaiah.
Well, I was born in Illinois, and I moved to North Texas from Illinois. And I grew up in a very religious, conservative household, especially when I was in the North Texas area. And it was a very concerning and interesting experience living in North Texas compared to living in Austin.
Yeah, a little difference there, right?
A big difference, yes.
Yeah. So because of that, and this was the experiences you went through were because of a lot of discrimination, I understand. We're going to get to that in a minute. But so you were raised in a pretty religious background.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. And you are currently or about to start the Isaiah Smith Foundation and website. Is that correct?
Well, yes, I have my own website that's basically for political purposes, but I'm planning on starting a Isaiah Smith Foundation. That's what one of my goals is for it to be. I want it to be a 501c3 non-for-profit organization that helps homeless LGBT youth, veterans that need housing, and that does legal advocacy work to help ensure that the separation of the church and the state is still there and protecting other constitutional principles that all people in the United States are supposed to have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that's going to lead us into what gives you this passion for the Isaiah Smith Foundation and your website, right? Mm. And a lot of it, I believe, comes through that experience, life experience that you went through in the Fort Worth area. So go ahead and take us through what happened back in your school days in the Fort Worth area.
Gotcha. Well, I first started out in Keller, Texas. I was at gonna start in high school. I was at Keller High School, and that was when I was really openly myself. I've started having issues in Keller, Texas with the adults, not with the school children. When I was at Keller High School, it was a pretty awesome, beautiful experience with a lot of the other Keller High School students. But then I moved to North Richland Hills, Texas, and I went to Birdville High School. I transferred from Keller to Birdville High School, and that was a very, very awful experience there. So living in North Texas really changed my perception on religion, and on the United States in general. Because when I was, really young, I used to think that everybody has these constitutional rights and that they're supposed to be applied to everybody equally and without discrimination. But as I grew up, I found that that's absolutely not the case, especially in North Texas.
So earlier we had discussed this, if you're wanting to get more into this, but the discrimination that you experienced in that school district in that area, you're in the LGBT community.
I am, yes.
Okay. And you're open about that.
Yes, I'm openly myself, yes.
Okay. I love the way you say that, openly yourself. That's awesome. Yeah. So give some examples. Tell us some stories about some discriminatory examples that you had from others, or maybe even the parents, more so than the students.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, majority of my issues when I was in the Keller area was with the adults. Like I remember one time I was at Keller High School, I wanted to wear fingernail polish on my nails, and an assistant principal that wasn't even assigned to my name bracket, because the assistant principals were assigned to people by alphabeticalized and stuff. He called me in his office and wanted me to remove my fingernail polish on my hands, and he was really conservative and religious. And I refused, and I went away. That's one example. But another example would be moving to North Richland Hills, Texas, going to Birdville High School, being called some derogatory names by the students who were religious. And some of the other issues would be, being quoted Leviticus.
And I say Leviticus, 18 and 20.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And so those were some very bad experiences I had. And how I got involved with the American Humanist Association was I decided to, I was in, I believe, my Spanish class in high school. Some students were saying that being gay was a sin. So I decided to start ripping some of the Bible pages off that they were referring to that is very old and very outdated. And I was ripping it. I was called to the principal's office, told to stop.
Wait, excuse me. You were ripping the Bible pages there?
Yes.
In front of them in the classroom?
Yes, in the classroom.
Wow.
Yes, in the classroom. Like other students rip, their pieces of paper. I wasn't loud. The substitute teacher didn't even notice it, but some students did. And I believe it was the principal's son that reported me, which I got called into one of the assistant principal's office, told to stop. I agreed to stop. So the next day I brought my ripped Bible to school, just carried it, put it on my desk, and continued with the school, at the classroom. And I was called in the principal's office again. The assistant principal that I spoke to during that time told me that he gave me a warning to not do that, and that I demanded that I hand over my personal property to him, which I didn't. So he suspended me from school for 30 days for bringing a ripped Bible to school. I was told that I'm not allowed to bring a ripped Bible on school campus. So as I was suspended, I reached out to the media, and I also started trying to do some research on some legal organizations such as the American Civil Liberties Union. I knew about the Freedom from Religion Foundation, but I was also reaching out to other secular organizations, and glad I contacted the American Humanist Association on Facebook. I never heard of them before, but I was just writing them. They responded back to me stating that their attorney would be interested in looking at that case, but I would have to contact them after I contact that organization. So I sent an attorney with the American Humanist Association. Her name is Monica Miller, a very awesome, intelligent person. And from that day, we send each other emails, and she eventually sent my school district, Birdville Independent School District, a lengthy cease and desist letter that we eventually won. My school record was the suspension was taken off my record, and I was allowed to bring my Bible, the ripped Bible, on school property again. And from that moment, we challenged a lot of other constitutional violations that were occurring at the Birdville ISD Independent School District area.
And there are a lot of other areas of discrimination, would you say, in that community?
A lot of other discrimination, a lot of other constitutional violations that we successfully challenged.
Mm-hmm. And you want to run for office.
Yes, I am absolutely intending on running for office in the future. I want to be in the United States Congress, whether it be in the United States House of Representatives or the United States Senate. I'm very passionate about running for office because I want to be the voice that I needed when I was growing up. And I do know how it feels to not really have role models in my community, except I guess watching Ellen DeGeneres or Barack Obama. Very awesome people. Mm-hmm. But, I also want, representatives that look like me, that act like me, and that have my same values and that want to take on the topics that I would like to take on. So that's what's really inspiring me to run for office.
Oh, beautiful. You got my vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
That really excites me and pleases me so much to see your generation seeing the importance of advocacy and activism and standing up against what you had to go through, that discrimination. And a lot of it is really, it comes from the root of that book, the Bible. A lot of it comes from religion. I think it plays a major role in a lot of discrimination. Would you agree?
I would agree. And, I personally don't think religion is a bad thing because, in this country, everyone has freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and should also have freedom from religion too. Like separation of the church and the state. But, my experiences in North Texas was that I personally believe, again, religion's not a bad thing, but what I've experienced was that a lot of deeply held religious people and conservative individuals in that area did not follow the same principles that Jesus
talked about
pursued.
That he talked about in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like love your neighbors, yourself.
Being humble, loving people.
Giving to the needy.
Yes. That's not how it is a lot of times in North Texas and also in other areas of the United States. So
in that area, in that conservative area that you were in, the very Christian conservative area in North Texas, were they prone to give to maybe homeless people? Or were they real active in helping the society of ending social and economic inequalities? Or would you say it was just the opposite of what this guy, they say, Jesus, the Son of God, right? Did they advocate for that? Or was it just the opposite?
Well, they typically, in the North Texas area, a lot of organizations that are religious, I've noticed, helped individuals out, but only because they interpreted their Bible to for them to do so, and they might give people religious literature with that. It's always that I've noticed something's attached with them wanting to help people. You can have food if you pray with us, or we'll give you or we'll help you if you are a youth only if you go to this type of Bible service with us. And I don't believe you should have to pray or believe in any type of God or a particular God in order to receive food.
Beautiful point. Yeah. We experience that when we go out on the weekends to feed homeless people. And there are a lot of Christian groups down under the bridge in downtown Austin. And that's good that they're out there. A lot of the believers out there don't have an issue with me and my buddies or the other secular groups. We have 2 or 3 groups here in Austin that feed homeless people, right? They're agnostics, atheists, secular groups, and so forth. The progressive Christians are political allies and all that we've discussed before. Really don't have an issue with us out there. Some of them have an issue with us would be the religious right and the conservatives. But it's interesting that most of them will join together in prayer, and they have their Bibles. Just like you say, they'll pass out Bibles and literature. One guy even would not give food to a whole line of homeless people until they heard him give a message on Jesus and preach from the Bible.
Yeah, and that's what I would think is, totally unacceptable behavior, because because I know how it feels to have been, hungry and to not have a good economic status when I was in North Texas. Now it's totally different, but I specifically find it really ridiculous and really outrageous for people to only be getting food if they, hear a religious sermon or have to agree that a certain deity is in existence or agree to a person's perception on a deity. If, like I would say again, if someone is hungry, they should get food.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the stuff you're going to push for.
Yes, that is.
Beautiful. Yeah, we need more of that. So you lived up there for a while, then you moved to Austin area. When did you move down here?
I moved to the Austin area, I believe in 2018.
Mm-hmm. And you knew that already coming down here from Fort Worth, that we are more of the blue kind of dot in a very red state. You were aware of that?
Yes, I was aware of that, but I wasn't aware of how progressive that living in Austin was. Mm-hmm. Because when I was in North Texas, I heard that Austin was, of course, the capital of Texas, but I never knew how loving, how peaceful, and how nice this area was until actually coming here. But it's very beautiful, very loving, very awesome experience here.
A lot of people say that. A lot of people that I've talked to through the years that have moved to this city or any other more progressive city, mm-hmm. right, in the United States, and they were raised religious or conservative, places like Austin or some of the other cities would attract what people would call the outcast of the family, the black sheep, or whatever terminology you want to use for those of us that would be maybe non-religious or LGBT or something that's different, right? So there are these areas just like Austin. It is a good feeling, isn't it, to be somewhere like you're at now?
Yes.
Yeah, where you can be yourself.
Yes, I could be myself. There are representatives that reflect my values, that want to tackle working with LGBT individuals, separation of the church and the state. And another big thing I really like about this area is we have a lot of progressive judges mm-hmm. in this area versus compared to there. So there's a lot of, things to do. This is also a college town too. Mm-hmm.
So what's your take, since this is a real passion of yours, and mm-hmm. I'm glad it is, so yes. Thank you for your passion. We need this, especially your generation. We need this. What's your take on the future of this separation of church and state with our current political policies that they're trying to do?
Well, I'm a strong advocate of the separation of the church and the state for various number of reasons, but I'm just hoping that whatever happens, that our Supreme Court will, follow established law, that they won't turn political, because mm-hmm. it's looking like they're turning really political. Mm-hmm. It's looking like they're taking on all of these religious liberty cases when, religion, freedom of religion is already protected by the Constitution of the United States. Mm-hmm. But I want our Supreme Court to be more of a constitutional Supreme Court and less political than what they are now, mm-hmm. because this is not how I would envision the United States being. It's very important for our courts to stay away from politics, leave politics to the politicians, but courts should be places of law, order, where people are treated with dignity and respect, mm-hmm. where the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, mm-hmm. and where the judges are impartial in their decisions. So I just hope moving forward that our Supreme Court is not political, and that we get some people in office that really care and that about their jobs, and that, won't and won't try to overturn established law due to political reasons. So I think that's something that really needs to be done to help ensure that the separation of the church and the state is ensured in the United States.
Yeah. And as far as the LGBT community, what's your take on that? Where do you think this is headed as far as the discriminatory actions from the conservative right and the Christian right? Do you think we're heading in the right direction for more freedom and liberty for people?
Well, I currently don't think right now we're heading in the right direction because of, how the Supreme Court is taking on these cases. Like they just heard arguments in whether or not Title VII protects, I believe, sexual orientation and employment discrimination claims, and I'm really worried about that decision having very negative impacts on the whole LGBT community, and I don't want them to just state that it doesn't, because that would affect a lot of people and make a lot of people subjectable to unconstitutional discrimination, and that's something that we cannot afford in the United States. But I see a lot of younger individuals that are more pro-LGBT than a lot of older people. So I think from a generational perspective, LGBT rights are improving, but from some individuals that are in office, like some politicians, it seems like they have some anti-LGBT agenda pursuant to religion. All religious people are not, homophobic, but, a lot of the politicians that we have in office are openly religious, openly conservative, and are absolutely openly anti-LGBT. And in the United States, everyone has a right to be treated equally. It shouldn't matter if you're black, white, gay, straight, male or female. Everyone should have a constitutional right to be treated equally everywhere they go and be free from discrimination.
Now you sound like a politician.
Thank you.
Good. That was great. Yeah, and that also coincides with the progressive values of humanism too, of equality, egalitarianism, separation of church and state, freedom for everybody. And it's the beautiful values of all this that we stand for. Anything else you want to share about that, about the difference of living in a more progressive city versus that hardcore religious conservative area you lived in?
Well, that I just wanted to just say that I'm really, it's a real, I would say, if I could say this, but it's a blessing. To live in Austin. It's very awesome living here, and it's a college town, and it's we have University of Texas and some awesome students that I met, and planning on pursuing college here and helping the community and just enjoying life here. It's very nice.
Good. And you've got a good full-time job. Things are going well for you?
Yeah, things are going very well. Very well. My income shot up and...
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Got to have money to live, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's just money, right?
Yeah.
How about your relationship with your parents?
Well...
Because I know you told me they were pretty religious.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's a interesting question. How I am, not trying to be rude or anything, but how I am is that I feel that individuals that I want to be a part of individuals that have my back. Doesn't mean you have to agree with me on everything because, I'm not perfect and I'm not always right. But if you don't treat me right, and if you don't really have the same values about loving people, treating people in a humane and dignified way, I don't want a relationship with those individuals. Because if if my morals are up here and your morals are down there, and you believe it's okay to discriminate and hurt other people, I don't want anything a part of you. I believe in surrounding yourself with people that will help improve your character, and that will help uplift you.
Very good.
I don't want to be around people that are dream crushers or people that don't want you to be successful or that only, so that's what I have to say about that. But, my situation, I was in North Texas. I was thinking about this, but I'm not the only one who's had, family issues for being in the LGBT community. There are a lot of people. I hope it's getting better, especially in other states. It seems like it's getting better, but another reason why I really wanted to start the foundation is because, based on my personal experiences, growing up in a deeply held conservative and religious household, I want youth that are homeless, that are in the LGBT community, to be successful, to not have to worry about what you're going to eat. If you're going to have to go to school, be hungry, I don't want them to have to worry about that. So that's something that I'm really passionate about starting.
That's beautiful. You want to share your contact information? And maybe we can do that later. We can have it, the producers put it up on the screen too. So
Yes.
if people want to contact you, and maybe I'll just have to have you back some more.
Yes.
In the future too.
I would love to be back.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for coming on. You
Thank
did
you, sir.
fantastic. It was a great interview. So, folks, thanks a lot for watching the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio and Isaiah Smith. Have a wonderful day.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.